Okay.
All right, I will call the meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call.
Mr. Zollinger,
Here.
Ms. Boyjan,
Here.
Mr. LePage,
Here.
Mr. Streb, Ms. Clevenger.
Here.
Okay, 4 of the 5 members of the board are present, so we have a quorum. Just so everybody's aware, in order for us to take any action tonight, 3 out of 4 of us are going to need to vote yes on that. I just want to make sure that's clear. So at this point, then we will move to the next item, and that is the August 10th, 2020 meeting minutes for approval. We received a transcript of the minutes previously, and I hope everyone's had a chance to review those. I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I will go ahead and call the roll to vote on this, please.
Mr. LePage,
Yes.
Ms. Boyjan,
Approve. Yes.
Mr. Zollinger,
Approve?
Ms. Clevenger.
Approve.
Okay, the minutes are approved. We'll now move to the item 4. We'll just go ahead and call out items 4 and 5 of the agenda, please.
Application number 20 NCZBOA-0005, Melissa Link, 1034 Schneider Street Southeast, North Canton. A request for an area variance of section 1133.06B to allow the construction of a new detached garage with a height of 20 feet, 3 9/16 inches. Application number 20 NCZBOA-0006, Melissa Link, 1034 Schneider Street Southeast, North Canton. A request for an area variance to allow the existing stone driveway to access the new garage and concrete garage apron.
Okay, is Ms. Link and Mr. Owens, I think you're the only 2 on here that will be testifying. If there's anyone else here that will be testifying, please let me know right now. Otherwise, I'll just have the 2 of you raise your right hands. We have a court reporter who can swear you in via Zoom. So go ahead and do that.
All right. Do you, both of you, swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be true?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Just so you both know, we're going to be, this is sort of an adjudicatory hearing. There is a court reporter taking down everything we say. So what I usually tell people is we're going to give you a chance to speak, and we will have some questions for you as you're speaking. I will try very hard not to talk over you, and if you would do likewise, it just makes the court reporter's job a lot easier. You'll have every opportunity to say everything you want. We're not going to try to cut you off or anything. With me in particular, I do tend to ask a lot of questions. I'm not trying to be confrontational or argumentative when I do that. I'm just trying to get information. So just be aware of that. At this point, I will let either one of you, whoever would like to speak first, to go ahead, and you'll start by giving your full name and your address, and then explain your application. I think as long as the other members of the board are okay with this, what I'd like to do is we will discuss both applications, both variances you're requesting, and then when it comes time to take action, we will take a separate vote on each one, since that's how they're laid out in the agenda. But we'll probably I think there'll be questions about both variance requests as we go through this. But go ahead and you go ahead and start making your presentation how you like to. I'll leave the floor. I'll give you the floor.
Thanks so much. My name is Melissa Link. My address is 1034 Schneider Street Southeast here in North Canton. And we're asking for a variance for the building height and to be able to use the existing driveway so that we can construct a large out garage on my property here in North Canton. We're engaged to be married. We're going to be joining our families here in the house that I purchased in 2015 here in North Canton. And My house was built in 1925. So the existing garage is just a very small single one-car garage. And with, we have 3 adult children altogether. So with 5 drivers in the household, that's not enough garage for everything that we want to do on the property. So we're looking to build a large out garage that would replace a garage that my fiance Nick has as a previous address of his. And that's the main reason for the height. So we'd like to be able to have a vehicle lift in the garage for repairs, just to our own vehicles, just for our own personal use. But he just did oil changes on everybody's cars the other day himself. And so being able to have that is something that we would like to have for our family. And where the building would lay on the property, so the garage would be shorter than the house. It would sit behind the house, and then using the existing stone driveway would allow it to mesh into our property in the neighborhood very well. And it fits in well with the neighbors around us. We're not the only ones that would have a multi-car garage or even a large garage. My immediate neighbor has, I think, 4 or 5 cars worth of garage, and pretty much all surrounding us, there's pretty similar things in the neighborhood to what we're looking to do here.
Yeah. Okay. With regard to the garage height, you're seeking a height that's about basically more than 33% higher than what is permitted. Do you have any examples of anyone else obtaining having a garage height that is higher than 15 feet in your neighborhood or in your immediate area?
Yes, actually so the property that touches the back property line of my lot, that gentleman has a garage on his property. And I think his property is actually 2 lots, but he has a garage on his property that's extra tall. It has an extra large door. I don't know the exact height, but it looks like it's big enough that you could park like an RV or something. And he parks an RV in that vehicle, and it's actually immediately right behind my property.
Okay. And you don't know how tall it is?
I don't know. I would guess it's similar. It's a similar height to what we're talking about.
And do you happen to know when it was built?
I feel like when I looked it up, it was like maybe in this, I don't know now. I want to say like in the 80s, maybe. It wasn't recently, but it is. And like I said, it's like he has 2 different properties. Like it looks like the garage is on one lot and the house is maybe on a second lot.
I know there's the issue of the vehicle lift. But I guess one of the things we have to look at legally is there a way to do this where you could be less non-compliant or actually not need a variance? You have a lot of room in that back. Your lot goes pretty deep. Is there any reason you can't make this a structure where it's lower, but you get more space on the ground?
So the lay of the land of my property is all one elevation. So I don't have like a hill or anything like that to work with. If I were going to lower the building, I'd have to actually like dig down.
No, you need to make it longer, not higher.
You mean make it longer, not taller?
Yeah.
So we need the inside height, and with the truss construction, the sidewalls would be 14 feet tall, and then the trusses sit on the sidewalls, which is why you have that extra height. So in order to, like, if you wanted to put the lift like on the peak end of the garage to capture that space, you'd actually have to construct the building in a different way. You couldn't use that truss construction because you need that inside wall height.
Yeah.
Chairman, if I may, I think I may have some clarification here on the height. as it appears, the applicant is seeking a variance for 20 foot, which seems to be the overall height of the structure. And if I may point to 1125.02 definition number 47 is the building height. And that definition actually would reduce what I believe what they need for the variance, in that the building height is the mean height from the eave to the ridge of the roof, which by my calculations here in Ms. Link, feel free to correct me on this, but it appears that the wall height is 14 foot. The height of the trusses, based on the width of the building and considering a 4 and 12 pitch roof, approximately 6 foot 8 inches. So the mean on that 6 foot 8 is 3 foot 4 inches. So if we took the wall height, excuse me, I think it was 14 feet in, where did that go? I just had that. 14 feet, 3 9/16 of an inch. So if we take the wall height plus the mean height of that truss of 3 foot 4 inches, I come up with 17 foot 7 9/16. So technically the variance, I believe, would only be 2 foot and 7 9/16 inch instead of the 20 foot and change that was included in the application.
Okay. One question I've got, and it doesn't really pertain to the code sections, but it appears is this total square footage of the garage is 24, would be 2,400 square feet. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
40 by 60. Okay. And your house, your house's square footage is less than that. I had it up here.
Yeah, it's like
1152 is what the auditor has. So I don't, and Mr. Van Gundy, are there any restrictions on that, having a garage that's that much larger than the principal structure?
Question. Let me pull up that portion of the code.
The building department had said because of the size of the lot, that the building size was okay relative to the overall size of the lot.
I couldn't find anything about that. I just wanted to make sure.
I feel like it was like 60% of the size of your lot was the threshold or something like that. And
you're well
I have
under that. There's
right.
There's 113308 where it talks about the maximum area of a detached garage is 35%.
I'm sorry, Mr. Zollinger, I cannot hear you in your
I
mic.
can't hear you either.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I got away from the microphone. I was saying 1133.08B talks about also the maximum area of a detached garage is 35% or 576 square feet, whichever is greater. I think you're under that too. I guess I'm wondering, like, what's this going to look like from the street? Is this, what's the height of your house? Is the house going to hide this pretty well?
Yeah, so I have a 2-story house, and in the packet, there's actually a picture that I included. So the 40-foot end of the building is what you would see. It would be set behind the house, and that's the view that you'll see from Schneider Street, like if you drive by. I'll kind of wait till she gets down there. Yeah, so that, and it's sideways, I apologize. But the end that you see with the man door, so that's the view that you would see from Schneider Street southeast, that sort of like peak view with the man door on the side. The long view, it fits well with the property because my property is narrow but long. And so the building's situated the same way. The narrow part would face Schneider Street and the long would follow the long line of the property line. And you just go down the existing driveway and pull into those garage doors. And then we have the garage in this sort of white and black scheme with the black metal roof and the white siding. My house is white sided. And my intention is to paint the house trim that same white and black color scheme so that the house and the garage visually will look like they go together. They belong. They are in the same style.
When I look at where it's going to lay out on the lot, it looks like it's not right behind the house, though. Like you're going to be able to look
it's set over to the side, right? So it almost looked like the garage was kind of like next to the house. They won't be stacked in line with each other. But yeah, you'll have the house and then the garage behind. But I think from the street, visually, it's going to look like the garage is sort of like next to and behind the house.
Okay. And I'm assuming it looks like it's, how close are you going to be to I'm not going to be in violation of any setbacks on the property line for Ms.
Right.
Popa's property.
And we have enough room to push it a little bit farther. We're not going to go with the minimum distance. We have enough room that we can give a buffer of a few feet. I think it's 7 to 10 feet from the property line on that side.
Okay.
Because there's a little bit of a slant to that edge of the property. The way it lays, it'll be like 7 feet at the top and 10 feet at the back from the property line.
Okay.
Other way around. And that's like a tree line. The neighbor has like landscape bushes and then a tree line there. So it'll fit in visually very well on the property there.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions about the garage or any comments? When the driveway, I'll just tell you what we've turned down driveway requests in the past, or we were poised to. We had one recently. I know there are some gravel driveways near you. Most appear to be paved or concrete. There's a reason the city doesn't like gravel driveways. It has to do with runoff and stone and other materials getting into the roadways. It does affect city services. It has a negative effect. This board has. I don't know what we're going to do here, and I'm just one board member. I only have one vote, but I'll just, that's just my my comment on that. We're not historically from as long as I've been involved, we don't grant those typically. And those are my concerns with the city services aspect of it. More so than just the cosmetics. I understand it's an existing one, and there are some other ones around. But if other people in your neighborhood or your area with a stone driveway tried to make any improvement, they would have the same issue. They'd have to come to us, and they'd have to give us a special reason. I mean, but that being said, why don't you tell me why do you think, are there any special reasons that you think you can be able to maintain the gravel driveway other than cost or anything like that?
Sure. So the existing driveway doesn't need to be changed in order to do this project. It already extends to a place where it would meet up with the new driveway in front of the garage and provide access to it. It provides access to the original existing driveway or the original existing garage. So that's the original flow that the property was designed to have. You drive down past the house and you pull into the garage, and this would maintain that same access path. The other thing is where the driveway is, and the land is pretty flat here, and the driveway is stone, and so it allows for like runoff on that side of the property. But there is a elevation difference between my driveway and the neighbor's property. And there's actually a low spot on the neighbor's property right to the side of the driveway. And originally there was a stone wall. Before I bought the property, someone removed the stone wall and replaced it with railroad ties. And I think if we were to pave the driveway, we would create a condition by changing all of that where it would actually flood the neighbor's yard, in that it's like near, if you look at where the old garage is on the diagram, and you kind of went straight across in between my house and my existing garage, that section of the neighbor's yard, I believe, would actually flood if we were to make that kind of change to my driveway. And the cost that you already mentioned is a big, I mean, this project, it would be prohibitive for us to do that if we had to pave the entire driveway. And we could use the existing path to access the new project.
Yeah, it sounds though like you're going to have more traffic on that driveway, right?
Not more traffic than we already have. Because we already have, and that's the other thing, like we have 5 drivers that are in the house pretty much all the time. So we're usually, all those cars are stacked up, or we have cars on the street. We actually had the back window smashed out of one of our vehicles just a few weeks ago. North Canton Police were kind enough to come out here and help us because we were parked on the street. So with the driveway or with the garage, we'd be able to park most of all of our vehicles inside. But yeah, we'd be able to safe turnaround in the driveway there and pull out onto Schneider Street versus backing out, which right now with 55th Street closed, it's really busy on Schneider. And the police department does an awesome job of hanging out across the street and making sure that people are driving nice and slow. But being able to get all of our cars off of the street parking neatly into the garage, having accommodation for all of that and that safe turnaround in the driveway to pull out onto Schneider Street would make this a lot safer for us too.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I guess I'm wondering if they don't have to make any changes to the driveway, and the driveway was there when the property was purchased. If they're not making any changes, either upgrading or can they just leave it, or because they're putting a new building, then they have to also upgrade the driveway?
Good question on that. The non-conforming portion of the zoning code does speak to additions to non-conforming structures, and I'd point to 115904 parent A, where it does talk about additions and talks about the non-conforming building or structure shall not be added to, enlarged, or moved unless the additions or parts moved is made to conform to the regulations of the district in which it is located.
Okay.
And 113308 C1 refers us to 1153.14A, which does require the concrete or asphalt surface in this case.
And Ms. Link, I know you now have 5 drivers living. I mean, how long have you had the 5 drivers, about, give or take?
Several years. So I would say about 3 years.
And that garage you have now, is that a 1-car or 2-car garage that's existing?
It's a 1-car, but we don't park in it. It's really too small to park a modern car in.
Yeah, it looks pretty small. Okay.
When you put a lawnmower in there, there's no longer any room to park anything.
Yeah.
Really, it's a big thing. We pretty consistently have a car parked on the street. This is really not a street parking kind of neighborhood.
Well, you're not allowed to park on the street overnight. You must bring them into the driveway.
I suppose.
I mean, I don't think you park on the street in the city. They ticket you.
Gotcha.
Last time I checked, I think. That's why, I mean, I never see it when I'm out early in the morning. Anybody else have any questions or comments or? Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll just take action on each of these individually. Does anyone want to make a motion one way or the other with respect to the garage height? If not, I'll make a motion to approve that variance, and I'll explain why. I think to give my rationale under 1179.10, when considering an area variance, we have to consider certain factors. Special conditions and circumstances exist peculiar to the land. This is a pretty big, long, narrow lot. This structure will go back pretty far into the lot, and I think it fits nicely in there because there's enough land. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance. I think to have a garage with that would accommodate this many vehicles, it would end up taking too much of the land. It would not be as sightly. The other thing, I think Mr. Van Gundy's comment that the variance is actually only for about a little bit more than 2.5 feet over the maximum height. In reality, that sways me that this is not as substantial as we thought it was going to be when the meeting began. I don't think this is going to do anything to the essential character of the neighborhood. I don't think it substantially alters adjoining properties. It is a bigger garage than what I see around there. And this house, being an older house, I hope that whatever you do aesthetically to the garage, it doesn't match up with the house, because you're going to have that thing. You're going to have new construction versus an old house. You're going to want to avoid it looking a little, too different. As far as adversely affecting governmental services, I think actually the point made about getting cars off the street, at least during the day when they're legally allowed to be there, is a good idea. And maybe even out of the driveway, if it does result in fewer calls to the police, that's a good thing for everybody involved, except for the lawbreakers, of course, but we don't care about them. And then the special conditions or circumstances exist. I think we discussed those. I think we're by granting a variance, we're complying with the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement. This is not going to be a substantially higher garage height. So I make a motion to approve the variance. I'll entertain a second, and then if anybody has any other comments regarding this particular variance, go ahead and speak.
I second the motion to approve.
Anybody else have anything to say? Okay, if not, then we can call the question. We'll do a roll call on this motion.
Ms. Clevenger,
Approved. Agreed.
Mr. LePage,
Approve.
Mr. Zollinger,
Approve.
Ms. Boykin.
Approve.
Okay, then we'll move on to the second item. Does anybody have anything else? Well, I'll make on the motion for the driveway. And this is just me, I'm going to make a motion to deny that variance request. And the reason my issue there is the governmental services thing, like the comments I made before. I understand the comments about it may cause a drainage problem, but if you put in a paved or concrete driveway the right way with the right drainage, a contractor who knows what he or she is doing, that should not be an issue, because drainage should be a factor in that construction. I also, in terms of cost, I understand where the applicant is coming from there, but that is really not something we're allowed to consider under the law. We have to look at the factors I've already outlined for an area variance. So, there may be other less costly ways of doing it where drainage still won't be an issue, but we have to think about the impact on the city and adjoining landowners. And what happens is when you have old construction like this, or an older structure that maybe it probably wasn't even part of the city when it was built, and what happened, the reason the code is written the way it is, 115904A, that when you make an improvement, you have to come into compliance in other areas that aren't complying, is they want to, that's the opportunity for you to come back into compliance. And the reason the city likes paved or concrete driveways is it does lessen the amount of material that comes out onto the roadway. I personally run down that road all the time, and I see rocks, and I'm not talking about specifically the applicant's property. I'm just talking about in general on East Snyder. There are rocks on the shoulder of that road constantly, all the time, and I think that's something the city would probably like to see reduced. And I think this is an opportunity for that to happen. So for me personally, I will make a motion. I don't know how everybody else on the board feels, but I'm going to make a motion to deny that variance. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, any other discussion?
This is Nick Owens. Are we allowed to make any discussion during this, or is this strictly the group's discussion?
You can feel free to speak. Yeah, I mean, you can go ahead, and if you have something else you'd like to say, go ahead.
The only comment I would make that not only is the driveway gravel, but where the mailman delivers the mail between the existing our property and the neighbor's property is all gravel. And that gravel was not laid down by neither one of us. I assume the city laid that gravel down. And most of the gravel that ends up getting on the road is the gravel from that little stretch that the mail carrier pulls off into. And that's where the plows dig up the most of the gravel when they do. And when they do hit it with the plow, it ends up in our yard than anywhere else. So not only would the driveway have to come up to standard, I'm not sure whose responsibility it is to make that stretch from our mailbox to the neighbor's mailbox that is gravel up to code as well. So I just wanted to make that note. That's all.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and that should be, that's something that the city road department should probably look at, because I know what you're talking about. I will tell you just the only other thing is, like I said, we've denied this in the past, and the problem is if we go and we accept, from my standpoint, if we accept this, the problem is it sets a precedent, and the next person that comes along and wants to maintain a gravel driveway, and maybe they even have a less valid reason for doing so than you do, they're going to cite this, and then the code, that whole part of the ordinance that's been passed by elected officials, and we're not elected, we're just appointed volunteers. That whole ordinance that elected officials have passed is going to become basically invalid or unenforceable, to use a legal term. So that's my concern there.
Our main objective in requesting the variance was the fact that because I understand the need for zoning and appreciate it. You can tell the difference between living in a city with zoning and an area where maybe they don't have those kind of protections for homeowners. Is that we don't need to do anything. We don't need to make any changes to the existing driveway to complete the project. So if we were going to ask to add to the existing driveway to complete the project, I think it would be one thing. But because we can access this same area, we access the garage now with that driveway, that factor isn't changing in the project. That was sort of the big reason behind the request for the variance.
Okay, I understand. Anybody else have anything? Okay, we have a motion and a second, so I will go ahead and call the roll.
Ms. Boyjan?
Motion to deny.
I'm sorry, just to be clear, it's a motion to deny the variance. So if you vote yes, that means you're voting in favor of denying the variance. If you vote no, it's the other way around. Just to make sure everybody's clear on that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ms. Boyden,
Yes.
Mr. Zollinger,
Yes.
Ms. Clevenger,
I'm conflicted. But I have to go yes.
Mr. LePage,
Yes.
Okay, so that variance is denied. So the variance for the garage is approved. The one for the driveway is denied. I don't know if there's any other. Does anyone have any other business to come before the board? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
And do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, we'll do a voice vote on the adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Van Gundy,
Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question.
Sure.
When they applied for a permit, was it, I mean, who